suggested Razorback. So I haven't heard of this one, but I just read the synopsis on it, and it seems it's an Australian film. You just gotta roll with them. So it's a 1984 Australian film, because of course it is. Let me read you the synopsis that's on IMDB. A vicious wild boar terrorizes the Australian outback. The first victim is a small child who is killed. The child's granddad is brought to trial for killing the child, but acquitted. The next victim is an American TV journalist. Her husband Carl gets there and starts to search for the truth. The local inhabitants won't really help him, but he is joined by a hunter and a female farmer to find the beast. Why does this sound like the dingo ate my baby storyline? I mean, I know the dingo story is a true story and we shouldn't make jokes of it, but this is what it sounds like, except it's a boar and not a dingo, because the dingo killed a baby, and in this it's a boar killed a baby. So it's a dingo killed my baby storyline. But anyway, I found a copy to watch. So it's on SBS Demand Movies. It's only an hour, 31 minutes long, but like, darling, darling, darling. I'm going to switch this over to my TV and we're going to give it a watch, because why the hell not? Also, according to IMDB, the director of the film, Russell McClary, received a phone call from Steven Spielberg about how he achieved the dream effects sequence. So that would be pretty cool to see that, you know, Steven Spielberg was like, yo, advice? Advice? Anyway, thanks for the recommendation, Cactus, because now I'm going to go put it on my TV. See you in a bit. So there's the poster for Razorback on SBS Demand. There's the pretty little chaos that it is. Like, it's an 84 movie. It's Australian. It was during the Ozploitation phase, which a lot of Americans loved, particularly Quentin Tarantino. So Ozploitation. We just had a huge burst in cinema in the 80s. It's something. It's the Umbrella Entertainment. They always have some good films under their belt. So a lot of the films that own has Umbrella Entertainment. Jesus, of course it's Outback. Why else would it not be Outback? I need to Google whereabouts in Australia this was filmed, because I'm pretty sure it's going to be rural Australia. I reckon Northern Territory by the looks of it. Maybe up north Queensland, because I know they were dusty and dirty for a while. Actually, give me a sec. I'm going to Google where this is from. On a side note, there is a 2017 movie called Boar, which is a similar theme, but except of a dingo eating a baby. I mean, a pig eating a baby. It's about a couple. It's about a family visiting family members in Australia. They hit a pig, and a pig comes and kills them. See, we're good at our Outback stuff. Yay, Outback Australia. Anyway, I need to figure out where Razorback's filmed. Give me a sec. Okay, so it was primarily shot in New South Wales. We got Broken Hill, New South Wales, which if you've seen Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, you'll see why the Outback is quite similar. And then it had some of the American shots obviously shot in America. But yeah, New South Wales, which I'm not really surprised about, because you guys do have some dusty, dirty areas, which Broken Hill is a perfect example of. And every time I say Broken Hill, I want to think Broken Heel, because Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. But anyway, let's get back to Razorback. It's really funny, I've never heard of wild pig be called Razorback before. Either I'm too young to know the word, or we just don't call them Razorbacks anymore, but like, I did not know that. Scientifically, Razorback is another word for a feral pig, and as Australian slang for describing them in the outback. Also, it doesn't help that I'm not an Outback girl, so I probably didn't know that either. 3 minutes 30 in. Holy damn, this movie does not muck around. It gets straight to the point. That's an opening scene. That is an opening scene right there. Damn. That's pretty much all I can show you of the opening scene, and I think that's all I can show you from the whole movie. But like, that just gives you context on how quick that opening scene is and how like intense it can be. But like, this is why Outback Australia does some pretty good landscape horror movies. In general, Australia does a lot of good landscape styled movies. It's just the storylines usually let us down, unfortunately. But like, as someone who watches a lot of American TV, I always get tripped out when Americans are in Australian TVs or TV shows and movies, because like their accent seems so different. Like, if I watch an American show or American TV, it's just like, yeah, they all sound the same. But if I watch them in an Australian TV show or an Australian movie, I'm like, why does your accent sound thicker? Why does your accent sound like there's a huge difference to what I'm so used to hearing? Like, there's just something where I'm like, it sounds deeper and thicker, and it throws me off because I'm like, that's not what you guys sound like. You guys, I mean, you guys can be loud, sure, just like anybody else, but like, y'all aren't that thick in your accent. Like, you all kind of have like this particular tone that is like, yeah, this is how I would recognize it's American made, whereas in Australia I'm like, that's where I recognize it's Australian made. Does that make sense? Probably doesn't make sense. I'm probably rambling. Sorry. Let's get back to the movie.
Okay.
This is baby John Howard.
Economy of flesh and blood. Last year, more than 800,000 kangaroos and wobblies were...
Oh my god.
Has you okay? Right.
Baby John Howard! Oh my god, I've never seen a young John Howard before. I'm so used to him being older. Like, I've seen him in Sea Change. I've seen him in Water Rats. But baby John Howard? Oh, what's up, baby John Howard? Oh. He's like one of the Australian brilliant actors. I don't know if he still acts, but yeah, he was an incredible actor. But like, baby John Howard. Okay, so I've already covered most of Razorback already, right? But honestly, I love how it gets straight to the point of the movie, and I love how like it's playing with the survival instinct rather than the bore itself. Like, you've got the people in there who are, you know, in fear. It's a rural community, which, if anybody knows what it's like to live in a small town, you know that outsiders, they don't want anything to do with outsiders. And if you're a killer, or an implied killer, they definitely don't want anything to do with you, right? You're an outcast straight away. So they're playing with the outcast elements. They're playing with the survivalist instincts. And then you throw in a wild boar and you're like, okay, I got you there. But it's this mammoth wild boar that you're like, cool. There's a lot of loony characters in this too. Another thing I noticed is that when you watch majority of this movie, it's predominantly male characters. There's only like 2 female characters throughout the whole movie, which I think is an odd choice, but it works. And I don't know if it's again to do with like the community element or just the choice of men are usually the hunters and women aren't. The only thing that I did feel upset with is the implied rape scene. That could have been without, but in saying that, it was part of the story, so it was needed. But like, I was like, I can't watch this. This is the one thing out of the whole movie I can't watch. But honestly, I was so immersed in the movie. So thank you, Cactus, for the recommendation of Razorback. But like, this movie plays with the sound and the elements at hand and just lets the characters run loose and use that adrenaline rush of it. Go check out Razorback. For Australians, it's currently on SBS Movies at the time of this posting. So just be mindful, it will probably disappear. I'm not sure where else it is at the moment, so you'll have to do a bit of digging, but like, Razorback. Oh, Chef's Kisses! It is an 80s classic, so be mindful of that. So some of the language and dialogue and whatever else used may be a little too dated, but yeah, it's still pretty like top tier. Like, that's a really good movie. Holy crap, it's epic!